We're looking at Pure Fiction for version 3.8. This one is called Epic Collection. And we are going to take a look at the bosses, the buffs, some teams, and do a little demo. And so we'll start with the grid effect. On the left-hand side, we have Concordant Truce. At the start of the battle, after an ally uses their skill to attack an enemy target, deals a set amount of damage to all attacked enemy targets. So this particular Pure Fiction is going to be focused on skill attacks, as we'll see. This one's giving us some extra damage. And then in the Surging Grit, we get the usual effect of all allies are advanced by 100%, and it increases damage received by enemy targets during this period by 50%. And then additionally, after an ally uses their skill to attack an enemy target, deals an additional set amount of damage to all attacked enemy targets and adjacent targets. So kind of the same thing. As far as the grit mechanics, so this is how you're going to get your grit effect. You got to build points to activate the grit effect in enter Surging Grit, and that's when you get the big bonuses. So for this one, we have skill attack. After allies use skill to attack enemy targets, every enemy target hits additionally accumulates 5 grit value for allies. So that's going to favor AoE skill attacks in particular. You're going to build grid pretty fast because that's going to be, well, 5 times 5s if there's 5 enemies, which there always is for Pure Fiction. So that's 25 grit per AoE attack if it's a skill. So in general, skill attacks are not as common as you think they are, at least for characters using them as their primary damage. So the biggest one for Pure Fiction, because she's the queen of AoE, is the Herta, and I am going to pull her out for this one, even though I normally try to find like more interesting teams. This is just demanding to have the Herta, and there are some other characters like Finon, for example, is primarily skill attack. That's kind of it for the big ones. I guess Mighty is a skill attack, but he's kind of bad for Pure Fiction. And there are a lot of other characters that use skill attacks, but it's not like their primary DPS ability. So, for example, Casters, yes, she has a skill attack, but her main damage is coming from her Memo Sprite, right? So, Nax is another one, yeah. So that's another big skill attacker. But he's kind of bad at Pure Fiction too. So this really is the Herta's day to shine with these particular buffs. So for the bosses, we're going to take a look at the first wave. It would not be endgame without Hule. He's in every endgame all the time. So if you don't know how Hule works by now, basically the more he attacks, there's a counter when him and any of the little wolf guys attack. It builds the counter, and when the counter fills up, he starts getting all kinds of extra attacks. He also has an ability that can possibly stun you, and in fact, both of these fights have a lot of stun, so it's going to be good to bring some kind of cleanse on your team. With the first fight, there's also the lesser sting bugs, which if they blow up, they will also stun you, so good to have some cleanse for that. For the second half, we have our old friend, the Deer Boss. He's been here since near the beginning of the game, so everybody should be pretty familiar with him. He summons a bunch of these little tree things that have different buffs. And then he also buffs himself, the most particularly annoying one being this Hardy Leaf Sheath one, where he can increase his defense and lock his toughness bar. That one's really annoying. I don't think there's actually anything you can do about it except wait for the turns to pass, so that can be pretty frustrating. Mechanically, there's not really a lot to think about usually in Pure Fiction, because it's just blast everything and try to kill the little guys as much as possible, so not too much that you can do with these particular bosses specific to them. For the buffs we have available to us, the first one is Solo Symphony. During Surging Grit, after an ally uses a skill to attack enemy targets, they deal additional true damage equal to 30% of the original damage to each enemy target hit. So this is 30% of the original damage, so it's not quite as high as you might think, but it's still a nice buff, and obviously we are pushing skill attacks here. Like I said, this is the Herta's day to shine. your other best option being probably Fine On too, but the Herta is just like kind of built for Pure Fiction with her AoE attacks. So second one is Ravings. Upon entering Surging Grit, break all enemy targets' weakness and recover 4 skill points. During Surging Grit, break damage dealt to all enemies targets increases by 50%, so that's pretty great. After allies attack enemy targets, for the Grit mechanics, every enemy target that becomes weakness broken additionally accumulates 5 Grit value for allies. So if you're going to be breaking anyway, then that's even more Grit. You're going to get to your Surging Grit pretty fast. So that's the break teams. Obviously, if you've got your Firefly, I'm going to be pushing Rappa as much as possible until like she gets a rerun. Probably don't want to run Boot Hill in Pure Fiction, but in Pure Fiction you can run one of my favorites, the Himiko break team. I thought about running it for this one, but I think I did that last time. I don't remember, but I want to push Rappa. You can even run Lingsha as your main DPS and put Harmony Trailblazer as your 4th, which is probably even more effective than the Himiko team. That's a really good squad, actually. That's like a legit Pure Fiction strategy, especially when you've got a break buff to go with her. Then finally, we have Ballad. During Surging Grit, Memo Sprite damage increases by 30%, and when Memo Sprite disappears, Memo Master's action advances by 15%. And then Grit mechanics: after Memo Sprite's attack, every enemy hit target gives an additional 3 Grit value for allies. So, yeah, that's pretty nice, particularly if you're running Casterus. Casterus is the Memo Sprite attacker. There are a lot of, and I guess technically solo Evernight if you don't have Casterus but have Evernight somehow, which I feel like is rare, but it does happen. Most other characters that use Memo Sprites are not going to necessarily benefit from this, although I will say, just as Lingsha DPS is valid for Pure Fiction, Hyacine DPS is also valid for Pure Fiction. I might have to try that someday. I'm not going to do it for this particular demo, but that could also be an option. I've seen that work pretty well, and I've definitely used it myself in the past. So in Pure Fiction specifically, Hyacine can be pretty good. She can be good in other endgame moves too. She's quite strong, but this one is right up her alley. But I think most people, you're going to have Casterus, so if you got Casterus, that's also an option here. Okay, so for teams, I've got break team on the first half, and like I said, I'm pushing the Rappa agenda, so I have E1 S1 Rappa, E0 S1 the Dahlia, E1 S1 Fugue, and E0 Lingsha. For Lingsha's Light Cone, I do something a little unconventional. I use Shared Feeling, which gives you the outgoing healing, which you like for Lingsha, but also when you use her skill, which in this particular mode we'll be able to get away with it because we get a lot of free skill points between the Dahlia and the Grit effect. So when using your skill, regenerates 4.4 energy for all allies, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's for the whole team and it's pretty consistent. So it can kind of help you squeeze, particularly with Rappa. Sometimes it's hard to get Rappa's ultimate in an infinite loop because you don't have quite enough energy, and that can help push you over the edge, and also kind of helping the Dahlia keep up time on her ultimate, which can be a little tricky without having to play energy regen on her. So every little bit of energy there counts. If you don't want to do that, you can play like the Gallagher Cone for more break effect, do more damage. Or there's one of the other abundance light cones that are more healing focused, but I kind of like that one for the team energy to keep both Rappa and Dahlia up. And then on the second half, we have the Herta, like I've been saying, and this is pretty close to her best team here. I think it's debatable whether Lingsha or Danheng PT or Venturine could be better. Kind of just depends slightly on the fight. Since I have Lingsha, I want to keep Lingsha with the break team because she's a little more break focused. I'm putting Danheng as my sustain, and then of course E1 Tribbie. So I have E2 S1 the Herta, E1 Tribbie with Dance Dance Dance, of course, and E1 Tribbie is just amazing for Pure Fiction because the more enemies on field, the more you get out of her E1. And then if it's Pure Fiction, so Pure Fiction is the time to swap out an Axa for Jade if you have her, if you're one of the few people that do have her. I'm using some real rare characters in this particular one. I've got Rappa and Jade, busting them out. And then I am using that first skill attack bonus, like I said, that's basically made for the Herta. And yeah, she lines up pretty good with even the Ice and Quantum weakness for the Herta and Jade is going to be pretty effective in that second fight. So, all that said, let's get into the demo. Okay, we'll set everybody up. Always important to have Dahlia's dance partner be the one that initiates the fight, because you can't really change it once the fight starts, which is weird. Now we're going to want to try to get Fugue's buff up before we launch Rappa's ultimate. I don't know why my Fugue is so slow, so that might be a challenge here. And we can pretty freely spam. Yeah, see, I'm gonna wait on Rappa's ultimate, but yeah, we can pretty freely spam Lingsha's skill with all the skill points we get, and that'll help feed energy to everybody. Okay. So now that we got the Fugue buff, we're going to swap over to Rappa. And if all goes well, we should be able to keep her ultimate up permanently for the whole fight. I can't remember if it's her E1 or her light cone where you get energy when you break, and that's also very helpful. One of the many reasons why you want to play Fugue if you can, to give you more opportunities for that. And don't sleep on Lingsha's damage. She is going to contribute. And so is the Dahlia to a somewhat lesser extent. So yeah, we've actually already got all of our energy for Rappa. So we can just launch right back into it. So Hule, like I said, you can see the counter on his name and his little wolf buddies that will go up anytime they get to attack. You don't have like a lot of control over this. I will say breaking them helps, because that will extend their time that they're not attacking you, which means they're not building up that little bar. And it is kind of nice with Rappa, because she's an imaginary break, so the imaginary break effect is like a stun that makes them stay stunned longer, right? So that does help a little bit, but of course, you know, if you have a good sustain, survival is not really a problem. Particularly in Pure Fiction is usually one of the easier ones in terms of like damage you're taking. It depends on the fight. This one can get real nasty if you let it go on too long. Yeah, so now you can see that the bar has changed under Hule's name, where we're kind of playing like a seesaw game here, where we attack and the meter turns blue, and they attack and it turns red. And if we let it go and go entirely red, as we see here, we're going to unleash all the other attacks. And when he does that, you can see now there's a mark over Lingsha's head. She's got to attack him, or her next turn she'll be stunned. So you got to watch out for that. Again, these things don't really change your strategy all that much, because like Lingsha was going to attack anyway. But you do kind of need to keep an eye on that one. So I don't know if I'm going to get 40k on this one. Probably not. But we'll see. Okay, and we can just flip right back to Rappa immediately. I think I actually have too much energy. I might need to make some adjustments on that. I usually have Fugue attack the boss because Fugue's basic will add defense down. Oh, we're close. Oh, we are close. Hey, we got it. 40,000. Okay, Herta, it's your turn to hold up your end of the bargain here. So maybe we get the perfect 80k. I'm feeling pretty good about that one. Okay. I am going to skill once with Heng, just to get like my shields really high up there, but that will pretty much make sure I won't need to skill with him for the rest of the fight. We're gonna put Jade's skill on the Herta, of course. Sometimes you can make an argument when you're playing with Lingsha to put it on Lingsha because she'll kind of attack more frequently, but then Herta's missing out on like the speed buffs and stuff that you get. And between Jade, Tribbie, and Heng, they can help clean up the small guys a little bit. Oh, amount of skill points. Actually, Herta has no shield, so I gotta kind of be careful with that. Okay, so the Herta is gonna get advanced there, so that's why I did not use her ultimate. So that way I can get 2 attacks in. So that was 1 skill attack, and then we'll use the ultimate, get advanced. And then we can skill again. Jade and Tribbie taking their shots while they can in between. You do have to keep an eye on Jade's skill running out. I do that more frequently than I like to admit, where I will forget to skill again with her. So I think it might be next turn we have to do it. Alright, yeah, that should... Okay, we're still sitting at our first turn here, coming into the final stretch. which is pretty good. You always got to watch Tribbie's buff too. Okay, so that's where we're getting the stun with a, but stunning Tribbie's honestly not that big a deal. And the dragon will actually that the attack dragon does not cleanse. It's the shield dragon that cleanses. Sometimes I can't tell the difference on the turn order. Okay, I'm gonna let the deer go first since the Herta will be right after. And let's hope Herta doesn't get stunned. There we go. And same deal, let her get the 2 skill attacks in. There we go, we have unlocked Tribbie. Like I said, you got to watch your skill points for Tribbie's ult, or skill, so... It's been nice that all of Herta's skills and ultimates have lined up nicely. Let's throw Heng in there too. Yeah, it's always good to have Heng or Lingsha or Aventurine on the Herta team, like I've said, because they also do AoE attacks. Pretty frequent AoE attacks, and that helps build your stacks on top of the enemy's heads. You see that big 42. All those numbers go up the more times you like actually hit the enemies. And so having all of your team doing AoE, so that's again Tribbie also. Aside from her buffs, Tribbie's good for that because she's constantly doing her follow-up attacks that hit everything. And then Jade, of course, also hits everything, so it just works out nicely. And as you can see, that was a very comfortable 40,000 on that side. It was a little tight on the first side, but hey, we got our 80,000. Pretty easy pure fiction. I don't think this one's going to be too challenging for a lot of people. The Hule fight, the boss has a lot of HP. The deer fight can get a little frustrating if he survives long enough to get into his defense mode, but hopefully you can take him out before that. So that will do it then for Pure Fiction 3.8. Hopefully this was helpful and or maybe at least a little entertaining. If you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.